Hey, coaches, got a fantastic episode of Championship Culture for you. Our guest is John Weaver. John is the head track coach and wide receiver coach at Madison Rutledge Academy in Mississippi. John has won state championships in both football and track. He's the co-host of Culture Classroom, and man, it is a fantastic episode. He teaches a concept called high truth, high love that they use with their players and coaches at his school. And he also goes into great detail about how they build relationships in their team, with their players. A fantastic episode. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope you stay tuned and watch the episode because it's a really, really good one. Thank you, coaches. Coaches, welcome to Championship Culture. Got a fantastic guest. John Weaver is the wide receiver coach and head track coach at Madison Ridgeland Academy in Mississippi. He is also the co-host of Culture Classroom. He has won state championships in football and track. He has some phenomenal videos on CoachTube. And buddy, I sure do appreciate you being here, man. This was hard to set up because of your new position, but I appreciate you working it out for me.
Well, I appreciate you and what you're doing with Championship Culture. And thanks for being patient with me with getting this thing off the ground. It's been a crazy, I guess, month taking on this new position as the athletic advancement coordinator with marketing and development of our athletic programs, not just with football, but from softball to girls soccer, all the way to our club sports with equestrian and bass fishing and skeet shooting and ultimate frisbee, stuff like that, just promoting our school and their athletics. So it's been fun, but it's been challenging. So ready to see what month 2 looks like.
It sounds phenomenal. I always try to, I guess my question is, I know there's some TV stuff involved, but is it mainly on social media? Where's your main emphasis when you're trying to market your athletics?
Well, right now, we're just going and doing some stewardships with people, getting to know our community a little bit more, showcasing who we are as an athletic program. So social media is one as well. We have local television that I have come out and highlight our students. There's a thing called the Sports Zone that I'm on about once every 2 months. It's a local TV network that we go on, and just a way to promote MRA athletics. I think anytime you can get any of your coaches or any of your players in front of a camera and promote your school, that's the best type of marketing that you can do.
Absolutely. That's where I was leading with that was I always try to get one of the younger coaches. I'm always super impressed by programs out there. And unfortunately, there's probably, just a couple handfuls of programs that do a super job with their social media. And I'm always trying to get, some of my younger guys to take that over because I'm 54. I'm what do they say? I'm not a natural born technology person, and I have not found one yet that sees the value and wants to roll with it. But I'm still looking, so I know I'm going to get one of these guys that just takes it and runs with it eventually. But super excited about your new position. I know it's been you've been going every which way but loose on this thing. Any other part of that you want to highlight? I mean, I know it's super exciting, and I can just see the value for any school having a person that is, just totally focused on promoting athletics.
Yeah, it's just it's time is what's been my biggest thing. 24 hours in a day. The time is the most. It's the greatest non-renewable resource that we have because you can't get a day back or an hour back or a minute back. So adjusting my time with still coaching football, still coaching our receivers, but yet promoting our athletic teams. And I think that's going to be paying dividends as we go into finishing out the summer, going into the fall, and throughout spring and our winter sports as well. So just giving them justice and helping promote MRA athletics is one of my things. I'm doing this thing in the media guide. We used to have a spirit book, and one of my things with marketing, I was like, hey, we're going to make this book to where you can put it on a coffee table and know about our school. So one of the things I'm starting is MRA is academics, arts, and athletics, and playing off the A in that. So just doing some fun marketing stuff. That's kind of my background. When I lived in Birmingham, did some time in New York with the Gulf South Conference in Birmingham, but did some stuff with marketing and communication. So that's kind of my background. Coaching I got into because I like coaching, and I got a story about that we can share later. But that's kind of my background with PR, marketing, and communications.
Well, I didn't know you had a connection to Gulf South Conference. I'm an old Valdosta State guy, so Gulf South Conference is near and dear to my heart.
Valdosta. So funny story before we get started. I was a redshirt junior, and Bonner and Booty were at Valdosta. Remember Abram Booty and Dusty Bonner?
Yeah.
And I was on the sideline. I was redshirted. Found out at the end of the season I got my medical red shirt, but I was in I didn't play in the game, but I was on the sideline dressed out. Anyway, we get beat 70-12. It was the largest defeat that a number 2 that is given a number 1 ever in NCAA history. And I remember walking by one of our linemen, Chris Booker, he's an All-American when he played us from Arkansas. And I said, hey man, we need to take a picture. He's like, why? And I was like, we just got beat 70-12. And he was 70 and I was 12, and he did not like that. I wanted to take a picture with that. So Valdosta, yeah, a lot of pain in my side. We never beat them while I was at Delta State.
Okay, so you were at Delta State. So one of the stories, I was a GA, and we went to Delta State, and it was Delta State's homecoming. Now, this is before your time. This is back when Hal was there. And it was literally the coldest place on earth I'd ever been. And my wife it was so cold that my wife snuck up into the booth. She couldn't stand it. She went with us that trip, and she had to come up in the booth just to survive because it was so cold.
Yeah, but, that wind starts blowing.
That wind starts blowing. I mean, it was tough.
That's it.
All right, so I didn't know that about you, so that's pretty neat. All right, and it was kind of cheap. I didn't remember until Dusty transferred back to Valdosta. I didn't really remember that being a big thing on Division I transfers, but now it's such a common thing. Right. He was really like the first big name guy. Maybe it's because it was a Valdosta guy. I was more tuned into it, but he was the first big name player that I remember doing that. And obviously it was a little bit of cheating when you go from Kentucky to Valdosta State.
He was good. He was so good. Our defensive coordinator at the time, we went into halftime, and he goes, I don't care if they score, they're going to score, but you make sure they run 8 plays before they score. We kick off to them. They score in 2 plays. And I was like, oh, man. I was a punter. Look, I was a quarterback in high school, but I was a punter in college, and it was super nice. Then I'd have to I guess I punted a lot when we played Valdosta at Valdosta, too. We didn't score a lot. So, anyway.
That's a neat connection.
Go Blazers, I guess.
So question number 1, can you give a 1-minute elevator introduction of yourself?
Yeah, John Weaver. We've talked about this before, athletic advancement coordinator. I have an amazing wife, Kristen, and 2 amazing children. Emery is 8 and Luke is 4. They both go to MRA as well. Just super passionate about athletics and about coaches and helping out our young athletes in whatever endeavor they want to do, whether it's going to college to play sports or going to college to get a great education, and then keeping up with them and the alumni of how they can give back to the school and how we can help them in their future endeavors. But I love helping people. I guess for me, being a coach, and people say this all the time, Joe, I don't have to get paid for this. I literally love coming to work. I've been here 11 years. I've been offered multiple jobs, either be a head coach or an offensive coordinator in Arkansas or Florida with some of my buddies. But home is home and MRA is home, and I'm going to be here as long as they'll have me. And, I love being in education.
That's awesome. You have to be careful in North Carolina when you say I would do it for free, because they make you do it for free most of the time. But, I wanted to sneak this in here. This is kind of off script on our questions, but I watched your last podcast,
Yeah.
and the high truth, high love really resonated with me. Can you just talk about that a little bit and what you're doing with your team as far as that goes?
Absolutely. So we had a thing called Encouragement Week, and with Encouragement Week, this was brought to us by Jacob Land, who was at Fort Worth Christian and came in, and he's a big culture guy as well. And he was like, "What if we set aside a week that our guys encouraged each other?" And you had like a secret Santa type deal, but it was a secret encourager, and you had to guess that person. And we didn't get into the guessing part. We kind of named our own encouragers, kind of getting them prompt. We're going to do it again in July. But at the end of the week, we had the pastor at Broadmoor, Josh. He came and spoke to us about what it means to be an encourager. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to quote Tim Kite as in your life, you need a truth teller and you need an influencer. Always in your life, you need somebody that's going to hold you accountable, and you also need somebody that's going to help build you up. So off of that, he told a story about your flies being undone, and how are you going to go approach that person. And in the podcast I talked about, somebody's got something in their teeth. Like my wife always asks if she gets to eating salad, like, do I have something in my teeth? And obviously I'm going to tell her, yes, it's right here, and let me help you get it out. But sometimes you think about kids, especially teenagers, they want to make a joke, they want to pick fun at somebody, or kind of chide their mouth away and like point at them and all that stuff. So what high truth, high love gets into is, I love you enough to care about you, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and I'm also going to shield you with any insecurity that you have. I'm going to make sure that I tell you out of high truth and high love, because I care about you as a person, and I want you to be an awesome contributor to either our team, whether you're in a business, whether you're on an administrative team, whether you're a CEO of a company. That's what high truth, high love gets into. And we have those four quadrants that Coach Torrey came up with. Is you have low truth, low love, high truth, low truth, high love, and then high truth, high love. And we just challenge coaches to, where are you on that? Or are you encouraging your kids to be high truth, high lovers? Are you, as a coach, a high truth, high love to other coaches? I think a lot of times there's this power struggle, I think, sometimes on coaching staffs, and people that are listening. If you're saying, no, there's no power struggle, we're all good, the ego's, yeah, right. When I was like 32, I wanted to be the head coach, the OC. I wanted to be it all. And anything I would do would be low truth, low love. I'm telling you, I would go and fight for that position without any care of anybody. The big, stroke your ego, and I want to be the guy. To where now at 40, I'm realizing, the high truth, high love is a big deal. And it goes back to what Tim said. You need a truth teller and influencer. And I think any coach that you have on your staff, speak high truth, high love, and have those tough conversations, because when you have those tough conversations, I think it allows and opens up a door to where we have this shield up. So like girls say it all the time, I think, like they have their guard up, or they don't want the bricks are up or whatever, because they don't want you to get close to you. I think the same thing happens with coaches and players, because if you have a starting receiver and a guy that's second team, is the second teamer going to go tell the first teamer what he's messing up on? Probably not, unless you have high truth, high love. And hey, I want our team to be better, so I'm going to tell you, hey, you're false stepping here, you're running this route wrong, or you're rocking whatever it is, right? So high truth, high love would be that second teamer telling that first teamer to make the team better. Same thing with coaches.
It really resonated with me with when I was thinking about, in terms of players, just being intentional about that process, because that's something, you get a bunch of guys around each other. That's not something they're thinking about. They're not thinking about high love.
No.
That's normal. But we preach to our kids all the time that the closest, tightest teams go the farthest. That the more it feels like family, the more you'll fight for each other. And I just thought being intentional about that process was just lights out brilliant. But then when you brought up the coaching staff, I really didn't even think about it that way. And right now I've got a young coaching staff, and we don't have a whole lot of that infighting that I've seen on other staffs
Right.
I've been a part of. But man, it's toxic when it gets in there. I mean, I'm not even sure, it might even be so toxic that it forces you to elevate your game.
Right.
But it's just toxic. There's no family feeling to it. So
Yeah.
I didn't even think about applying it to the staff. I think that's brilliant also.
our head coach, Herbert Davis, who, in my opinion, is one of the tops in the Southeast, allows his coaches to coach, and he's a high truth guy. He's high truth. He helped me along the way when he was hired here. I was the only one that was retained from the previous staff, so I guess I'm the old head of the whole football staff. But you know, the high truth, high love speaks to him. He coaches us just like he coaches his players out of love and helping us in our coaching journey, whether we want to be an OC, a DC, or even we're a young coach and we want to be a position coach on the high school. He helps out our younger guys as well. So that's going to end up being our hashtag for this year is hashtag HTHL. So whenever you see that on MRA football, HTHL is high truth, high love.
That's awesome, man. All right. So question number 2, you know, culture is such the buzzword. How do you define culture in your program?
Well, for us, it's simple. It's relationships and telling the truth, right? There's so many, a lot of people try to put this culture thing. And we've talked about this before. And I think Coach Torrey and I did a podcast on this, Joe, that there's so many definitions. Like PJ Fleck, I love him. I love PJ Fleck, but he's got over 127 definitions. I don't know about you, but when I was in middle school, I don't want to learn more than 10 definitions in a week, right? So why make it this overarching theme of culture is this, it's this, it's this, it's this, it's that, it's this. It's about telling the truth, and it's about having a strong relationship. And that's super simple because you want to be intentional with the relationships that you have, and your players know if you're faking it. Other coaches know if you're faking it. So the biggest thing is, hey, let's speak truth to each other, just high truth, high love, to piggyback off of that. But look, you got to have a strong relationship, and that's investing in the players that you know, that you coach, that you know them well, you know their buttons. You know, a lot of people are like, hey, I don't want them to know that I have buttons, but I think it's more about being transparent, not translucent in your culture. And it's about doing life one day at a time with them. Like I was going through one with one of our guys who's about to commit. And I said, look, I'm not coming to you as your coach. I'm coming to you as as an older brother that says, hey, this is what I think you should do. And then let's get your dad on a 3-way phone call and let's talk about this. And having those tough conversations, that couldn't happen if I didn't have a relationship with him as an 8th grader, 9th grader, 10th grader. Is it all roses and, you know, Bluebell ice cream? No, there is so many valleys and peaks and everything that goes into it. So, but for me, culture is just, you know, the relationships that you have. And then are you telling kids the truth? Because I think a lot of times, and I fell in this trap when I was younger, you want to tell kids what they want to hear. And you tell other people what they want to hear. Well, the easiest thing to do is if you start lying and telling and stretching the truth, you know, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything, right? Just tell the truth. So I fell into that pit. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted everybody to, hey, he's got my back, when, you know, the best thing for them. So for instance, say, hey, am I going to play Friday night, or am I going to run for track? Am I going to run the 200 this week? 10 years ago, I would have said, yeah, you're going to run this, you're going to do that. And they'd get to the meet and they probably run one of those 4 things, to where now they're like, can I run the 200? What about the 4x4 relay? I was like, hey, we got the mile relay taken care of. I'll see if I have an open lane in the 2. And I think that just goes back to tell the kids the truth, right? They want discipline. They want the truth. They want to know, hey, coach has my back. Even it's not what I want to hear. It's that high truth, high love piece. You can go back to what we just talked about. Is he telling me the truth? Yes. Do I love that individual? Absolutely. That's why I'm telling you the truth. If that makes any sense at all.
No, I love it. I'm with you on, I think simpler is better when you can give them something that they can actually remember and say it back to you.
Right.
Then you can start flushing it out and you know, and putting all the complexity into it. But I just think it's, you know, I love PJ Fleck too, but good Lord, he's got stuff everywhere. It's on his
everywhere.
Everywhere. You know, I want something that I can remember and something the kids can remember. I'm a big one. If the kids can't tell you, if they can't tell you what it is, then it's not real. So,
right.
So I'm on your back on that one.
Yeah, that's like core values though, Joe. It's like core values, like 3 to 5 are good. I think anything over 5, you're getting cloudy, because you're like, is it, what does that stand for? What is that? So, 3 to 5, I think is the magic spot for that. Just having your kids understand who are we, what are we about, and how do I get buy into our program? And it's that simple.
I love it. I love it. All right, so let's jump into the part that now we want to steal your ideas, and if you could really focus on the relationship part. Like, what are the question is? Let me get my glasses on because I can't see it. What are the three best things you do to build culture in your program? But if you could even tailor it to what are the three best things you do to build relationships in your program? What are you guys actually like real things that you're doing?
All right, so I'm going to talk and speak on our receiver group. People know, if they're watching this, they know I have the Air Raid Brigade. You've probably seen it on my Twitter, the ARB stuff that we do. That was the first piece of relationship. When I was promoted to being the varsity wide receiver coach, I knew that it was important to have an identity with a position group, that those are your guys, those are our people. They're going to see me more than anybody else during the day, when we do drills, when we're in 2-on-2, when we do, Joe, I don't even go stand behind the offensive line. I don't even get as close. I'm like 8 feet from the tackle box at practice. So those guys I knew were going to be important. So we set up an identity thing. We called ourselves the ARB. We had a whole bunch of names go through, but they get call signs. And I think the first steps of the relationship piece is you call, and all it is a nickname to people, right? We had a guy, his birthday was yesterday, Landon Fulcher, and I called him and I was like, man, I forgot it was your birthday. When he answered the phone, he goes, "What's up, coach?" And I said, "What's up, Suave?" And that was his call sign. And I think the relationship piece is, big on that look, we got a nickname. So how many times were you had a nickname when you were growing up, right? I had like 15 to 20, and then like 10 more that my dad called me when I didn't mind, right? So that was the first piece of having an identity. But two, the relationship piece is, we wrote handwritten note, or I wrote handwritten notes to our receivers, whether you're a starter, a second team, or you knew you weren't getting on the field unless we were up 35 rip. You got a handwritten note about that week in practice. And that was another piece, because it's easy to send somebody a text message, right? It's easy to send somebody an email. It's easy to pick up the phone and call somebody, but it takes time to write that handwritten note. And I think that's one of those lost arts that people, they miss out on, is, hey, if I take time to write a handwritten note, and look, this was every Friday. They got them every Friday. I'd write them Thursday afternoon. They get them every Friday after walkthrough, and I just put them in their locker. And one of our guys, his call sign, nickname, whatever, was Spider. And they did this feature on him 2 years ago. And the guy had every note that I wrote him. Every one. I was blown away that the power of a handwritten note. He goes, yeah. And his dad sent me a picture that he was sitting down there. Russ was sitting with his girlfriend going through all the notes and reading them. So it's the impact piece. And then I guess the last part of when you build the relationship to them, when you dive into it, they have to know that you really care about them. And yes, you can bring them over and eat dinner. We did a bowling thing, like wide receivers versus DBs 2 years ago. It's more, you can do free stuff, right? You can do free stuff. You can have a scavenger hunt. You can have we had a parent set up a barbecue for us, and we had just chill out with them and hang out and ask them, what are some of your goals? What are some of your dreams? What did you love the most when you were at MRA? What did you love the most about this season? And then I don't want to say I take notes, but I take mental notes about, hey, when was this guy's birthday? So I have all my guys' birthdays saved in my phone. And I was so busy yesterday, I didn't call Landon until like 4:30. I was like, I am so sorry, Suave, I forgot your birthday. But it's not, the thing is, relationships, it's just like being married, right? It's not all fuzzy. It's not all the wedding day and the honeymoon every day. It's not. And you have to work at it. And I think relationships within coaching staffs, relationships between coaches and players and coaches, you have to work on that every day. Because are there times that you're going to mess up and you need to hear truth from me? Absolutely. But that relationship piece has been built that I can have those conversations. Or, hey, you're not going to start tonight because of blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to be able to have that conversation. I think one of the things too is know that Zig Ziglar said, they don't care how much you know until you know how much you care. And that's Zig Ziglar, but that's so true. I think Jim Tressel said that as well when he was at Ohio State. But you say that, and they don't care what we know about X's and O's, right? And I told one of our coaches, I said, if y'all think football is the first thing on their mind in the summer, you are wrong. It is not. So I said, you better find something better than an X and an O, or a wide receiver route, or an offensive line drill, or a defensive line drill, or a quarterback drill to keep their attention, because that is the furthest thing from their mind at 7:30 in the morning, especially in the summer when you're going 4 days a week. So the relationship piece is so much bigger than just, hey, I love you. The acronym family, forget about me, I love you. That I like that, but ain't nobody forget about themselves. not being teenagers. Teenagers are selfish by nature. So anytime you can pour into them and show that, hey, I care about you more than just being a player for us, or number 5 on Friday night. I think that goes a long way, Joe, than just having that's why I write the handwritten notes. That's why I do all the other things, is to show that I care about them more than, hey, just a number on Friday night, how many touchdowns you're going to score, how many catches you're going to have. It goes deeper into the classroom, and we have a group text that goes on and stuff like that. So anyway, relationships, John Torrey probably talked about this, but he has this thing called process of the ships. It's relationship plus leadership equals championship, whatever your championship is. And he shared that with me when we first met. And relationship more than leadership's important, absolutely. But leadership's such a scary word, I think, to teenagers sometimes, because that's a heavy word. Like, you want me to lead? Whoa. So the relationship piece is what I stick on, and then help them bridge the gap of relationship and leadership, and help them along the way with that.
I absolutely love it. And I'm gonna ask you some questions about the least important of those, because I obviously the note thing is probably the most impactful, and bringing them over to your house is impactful. But the group text, do you have a group text with just your receiver set up? Is that what
Absolutely.
You're doing? Okay.
Absolutely.
And then the one I love, because we're an air raid team, the call signs. Yeah. I can't believe I never thought of this before. How did they pick their own call signs? How does that whole process work?
All right, fantastic question, because my dad's a military guy, and I did some research of how does a fighter pilot get his call sign. And if you're watching this, you've probably seen Top Gun, right? So you think of Ice and Maverick and Goose, right, and Viper. Those are gone. Like, you can't use those names. I said those are directly related to the movie, so you can't use those. So here, a fighter pilot gets his call sign from other members that are pilots. So you cannot come up with your own call sign. So some of them, I don't ask why that's their name. I just know it's their name. You can't use a derogatory term or anything like that. For instance, we had a guy that was from San Diego. Okay, his dad transferred here. And if you've seen Anchorman, the guy we all called him Burgundy, for Ron Burgundy. So keep it classy, San Diego. We just called him Ron Burgundy. One guy I've talked about, Spider. He had hands like glue. So I was like, man, you're like a spider, just grabbing everything. Seemed like he had like 8 hands grabbing. Suave, which is Landon. He was a ladies man type of deal, so like Rico Suave. We got one right now. It's pretty simple. Davis Dalton is one. We just call him DD for Davis Dalton. Sometimes we just call him Dave. Street Toller, I nicknamed him Roadie because of street and a road. So we just have fun with it. And look, a lot of people are like, hey, what's my call sign? Like, they want to get their call sign. And we developed those through the summer. So some of our new guys, like we have one that's Jeremiah, and he runs really good routes. So I just call him Judy for, Jerry Judy ran great routes when he was at Bama. So I just call him Judy. And do I call them that all the time? No, I call them their first name or their last name sometimes, but we're in a setting where it's just fun and light. And if they make a great play, we're like, that boy, Judy. So we do stuff like that. Tybo's another one, but we have fun with it. Do I come up with some of them? Absolutely. Do the players come up and run it by me? And I'm like, yeah, we could. Tell me how that exists. How does that happen? How does it? So we do that. We do t-shirts for them. I buy the t-shirts. We have a hashtag for every year that we do. So first year was Take Flight. The second year was, I'm a big Dr. Dre fan. So it was Next episode. We played off the year 20 with the double X. So NE, capital X, then spelled out the word episode for 20 last year. And then this year is we're really fast at receivers. So we're going with Mach 21. So Mach speed, Mach 21 is what we're going to go with. So just having fun with it. So anytime you see a post from us, it's like Mach 21, the ARB, stuff like that. But it's fun. I love fighter pilot. I mean, in another life, I think I'd be a fighter pilot. We were down in Destin in the end of May, and I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays, the Blue Angels fly over, and the F-15s, the F-16s, the F-35, the F-9. I mean, they're unbelievable. And then we kind of correlate that with our receiver group, because the fighter jet is it's a multi-million-dollar plane, right? And they don't fly by the seat of their pants. Well, we're not going to run routes by the seat of our pants. So we're going to be disciplined, articulate, precision with our moves and catching the ball and stuff like that. So we kind of translate that with fighter jets and stuff like that. It's cool. It's worked. We're in year 4 with this. So
love it. I even love the comparison between the fighter jet, that it is very precise. They're not just jumping in there and going for a joyride. So I like that whole concept of being precision. I've used the term with quarterbacks, I want you to be fighter pilot cocky. There's a cocky level, but it's a controlled because they know how good they really are because they put the work into it. So
we got 4 right now that are pretty salty. I wouldn't say they're cocky, but they are super confident. When the ball's in the air, it's theirs. And they've had 2 great weekends. One in Little Rock at the Shootout of the South, and this past weekend at the Fletcher Cox 7-on-7. They made, I call them big boy catches, and they made some big boy catches over the last 2 weekends.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We've been 7-on-7 and up too. So I got out of there without a big sunburn. I was impressed. All right.
Got to wear the bucket hat. Yeah, go ahead.
I got the bucket hat too. All right. Question number 4. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first got started?
That time would be of the essence. I learned that, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, that there's only 24 hours in a day, and I want to get so much done. And am I a procrastinator? I don't know. I think we all are to some level. We're procrastinators, but make the main thing the main thing. And, President Obama outlined his day every 4 minutes. And that's incredible to me. Coach Torrey and I talk about that all the time. Like, people can do stuff for a half hour. People can do schedule on the hour. You think about old TBS, they played at 7:05 or 7:35. But I think you map out your day. And I used to not do this, and I'd go home and I'm like, man, what I get done? To where now it is scripted out of, hey, from 7 to 7:15, 7:15 to 7:20. Do I do this every day? No. Do I need to do a better job of it? Absolutely. But having 2 kids and the new position that I'm in, as well as still coaching 2 sports, it's more time consuming, I guess, with doing 3 things now. So it's imperative that I tell my time where it needs to go. Where before, as a young coach, you'd have football practice in the morning. You're like, okay, you'd hang out in the coach's locker room. Then you go eat lunch. And then after lunch, you'd be in a food coma. And then you'd get up and you'd watch some film, or you'd hang out with people. And the day would just go away from you. And how did I get better today? What did I do to improve, maybe in X's and O's, or learn a new RPO, or maybe I'm doing some strength training, or how to help a kid run faster, or whatever. Toward now, you got to be more intentional with your time. And I think it's one, because I'm a dad and I have 2 kids, but more importantly, I think it helps show our athletes that, hey, time is important. So if you tell them, hey, I need you here at 2:15 and we're going to work out, I'm going to help you speed train, that they're there at 2:10 and that your time is valuable. And they learn that along the way, because I knew time was important, but I didn't know how to manage my time when I was younger. To where now it's, if I don't have it, I look down at my watch and I'm like, oh man, it's 11:15 and I've been here since 8 and I got 5 of the 15 things that I need to get done.
I love it. I'm a big to-do list guy, but I mean, it happened yesterday where I get done and say, man, did I get anything done? I'm a big Brian Kane guy, and he is huge on the scheduling the blocks. How long you been doing it, and how long does it take to get kind of successful with it?
Well, I'm still learning how to be successful with it. My wife does an amazing job of it. I'm learning from her. She gets up at 3:50 every morning to work out, and she's a nurse, and she tells her time where it needs to go, and she has helped me with this about scheduling out. You got to tell your time where to go. She is a to-do list. She is a check it off and like make sure everything's done. So she's helping with that. So we'll have to do another podcast, I guess, in about 6 months to see how it's going. But as of right now, it's going pretty well. You know, I got to put this media guide together and have a deadline of July 15th and have over half of it done because I tell my time where to go and spend that. I think the biggest time suck is social media, right? And I listened to this podcast by John Gordon, his Positive You. And it was the guy that had the savers, the 6 steps. And I can't remember the guy's name, Hal something. And I'm sorry.
I listened to that one last week. Yeah.
Yeah. And just telling time where to go, you know, the silence, the affirmation.
Yeah. Miracle Morning.
Miracle Morning. Yeah. That's it. Perfect. So listen to that a little bit, but telling your time where to go, I think that's super important. Yes, we have 24 hours. But yet, let's funnel that 24 hours into 10-minute segments, 15-minute segments, which sounds silly, but if you don't tell your time where to go, then it's going to float away like a feather.
Yeah, no, I'm on your back, and I am. I want to get a progress update on you because I have. Even though I'm a huge checklist guy or a to-do list guy, I've hesitated on trying to block it out. I didn't know how realistic it was, and but I think once you kind of had to do it by necessity. I think that's why Brian Kane has to do it because he just goes in so many directions. So I'm interested to see that.
And look, my mental capacity is not strong enough, and I'm not smart enough to remember all that stuff. So I can't think about what's ahead 4 hours away. So if I can plan out an hour, I'm good. And, you know, Coach Torrey and I were talking about this 2 days ago. Treat it like a teacher. If you're a teacher, you have 45-minute blocks, 43-minute blocks. You have to schedule that out. Same thing with being during your day. Like schedule it out. If you're not, I can't schedule 15 minutes. We'll schedule 35 minutes or 42 minutes and set a timer and be like, hey, for this 40. And it sounds so silly, but a lot of successful people do that. And you mentioned Brian Kane, you know, I mean, my goodness, peak performance, holy cow. But I think that's one tool, and it's free, right? It's free. Everybody wants this like, hey, how can I do this? Is get self-help and put a plan. Well, just schedule out your day, and that's free. Like buy a notepad and buy a pen, or you have whatever, and just schedule it out. Like, hey, from 7 to 7:10 or 7:12. And I think if you do it like on an odd number, like if I say 10 minutes, like, ooh, what if I had 12? Well, then put down 12. It gives you 2 extra minutes. So we'll schedule another pod and we'll see how the progress goes in 6 months.
Well, when you said it, you know, both as a coach, your practice schedule is 5 and 10-minute blocks. And then as a teacher, I tried to make my class when I was in the classroom, I tried to make my class like a practice schedule. So it was 5 and 10-minute blocks. So it should be a lot easier than in my mind, I was creating a monster, and it was really just something I normally do anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, you've been absolutely fantastic. I want to finish up with this question number 5. Can you give us your contact information? I'm sure everyone here knows about your podcast, but give a little information on that, and then anything you want to promote, and please talk about your you got some stuff on CoachTube that looks really good. How about talking about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my contact. You can reach me by email at J, and that's the letter J, Weaver, WEAVER at MRAPats.org. And then my Twitter is I think it's at Coach Weaver MRA, I believe. I can't remember. I've been off of it. It's at Coach Weaver MRA. You can find me there. Our podcast is at Culture Class 19. You can listen to Coach Tori and I talk about various topics. We're 3 years in. But my biggest thing, I guess, why I did the CoachTube thing. We had a lot of coaches that asked me for stuff, and we talk about time, right? Well, time is time consuming. If coaches ask for something, then I have to take time and send it to them. Not saying that those coaches aren't important, but I just put it on there and I was like, look, I'm gonna set it at a price point that if you went and bought it at a store, what would it be? And that's what I do. So that there's a lot of things. Look, I coach for a living. I have a full-time job. I don't need that. And I'm not trying to say, hey, but I did it as a time saver, I guess you would say, for that. And it's just some of the things that we do in our receiver group, just to help coaches out. Sometimes they'll call me like, hey, can you help me out with this? And I was like, look, even if you can't buy the course or whatever, call me and let's talk and let's get on a Zoom and I'll help coaches out with that. I forgot what else you asked. I forgot.
That was it. I just wanted you to promote that a little bit because you had 3 or 4 of them on there and they look really good.
Yeah. The biggest thing I would promote to coaches that are listening is one, be a husband to your wife, be a father to your children, and don't let the day go by with just you thinking about football, because your family is super important. Your faith in God is super important. So at the end of the day, the X's and O's are important. The relationships you build with your kids are important, but more importantly, the relationships that you build within your family. So I know coaching is a huge carousel. I know it's a big to-do in some people's life, but don't get carried away with that consumes your life, but promote that you are a dad and that you're a husband to your family and your kids.
Amen. Thanks for doing this, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot.
All right. See you.